Are we looking good? Yeah, yeah. Howdy, y'all, and thank you for inviting us to bring our party into your living room or wherever in the hell. And greetings and all that good stuff. As you can see, I finally conned Virginia up from behind the camera, and here beside me where she belongs, a little brief, what shall I say, introduction for those of you who didn't get our July '98 newsletter. Virginia and I have been friends for about 18 years when she joined the lab, friends and pen pals and astral visitors and stuff. And finally, a while back, we found both of ourselves in the single mode, if you will, and we decided to get together and see if we could prove that happy marriage is not an oxymoron after all. And in spite of those who disagree, I think we are proving at this time that probably enough said on that point. And we're here because ever since we got together in person, Virginia's been asking all sorts of questions that to me seem to be representative of what our members want to know that somehow I haven't been able to get across in the newsletter and stuff. So with this in mind, Virginia, you have the ball, you have the floor. Ask away.
Well, first I wanted to ask you about your eyebrows.
Yeah.
And this, what it symbolizes, the way you wear your eyebrows and your goatee.
Yeah.
I'm sure you can explain for me what that means.
Well, now, I would love to tease first by saying, I'll tell you about mine if you can explain to me why William Conrad, when he played McCabe, had those close-ups with his eyebrows done just like this. And but I will tell you what mine were, and maybe somebody out there can tell you what Conrad's were. But it's very simple to me. Now, most of this started as what you say, a promo for the White Witchcraft book. I grew the beard and goatee for that because we should look pretty good, pretty. How do you say that? Oh, the publisher just loved that picture of me at that altar with all this stuff, and looking like a real weirdo or a witch or something. Yeah, and we wanted back at that book, and it may have been on a couple of others. I don't remember, but the eyebrow part is very simple. A simple, easy salute to Pan, the little horns. And I liked it so well, I trained them to do that. I wonder how Conrad trained his, or if they used makeup or something. But it's a delightful thing that doesn't attract a bunch of attention around, how do you say that, around rather closed-minded, you'll pardon the expression, hard-shell Baptists, if you will. But anyway, we are in the Bible Belt here, and it's nice to stay fairly low-key. We don't want to upset anybody, but again, it's a delightful reminder all day long. And I do have a habit. There are two of these. Now, the goatee came sort of the same way. The White Witchcraft book itself grew out of a class on reincarnation at the lab all those years ago. Since the book's published in '72, you know how far back we're talking about. But we went back into past lives and found a bunch of ritual work that we were doing and brought it forward. And the 95% of the research for that White Witchcraft book was done by regression, which gives you a clue. Then we'd see it, get an idea, and come back and try it, and found out the damn stuff worked. Now, of course, Virginia has teased me for a long time about that too, that she was so much happier with the follow-on, the helping yourself with your ritual magic, where you didn't have to have as many props, and it was a lot easier, not all the complicated rituals. But that was the idea. First came the White Witchcraft book. And of course the goatee came in front of that, because in one of my regressions to my own past life in Egypt, I had one of those crazy beards. I'm sure you've seen them somewhere. It came down like this and then bent and went straight out. And I tried to do that, but it didn't work. And besides, on a cold night, does it go outside of the covers or under the covers? And people have always argued about that, about Rip Van Winkle too. Where did he put his beard? But Virginia had the answer. He slept outside. There was no covers.
Under a tree.
Yeah, under a tree. But I guess maybe you got quite an answer to that one. Should I give the ball back to you?
I've had lots of questions over the years, but these are a few.
Yeah, nice and loud now, so.
Your books, I have Newt and in my martini and I can't remember the other. Yeah, Puck them all. I've had questions, and I'm sure that other members have had questions about what these titles meant. And I've been asking Al and getting explanations, and I would like to share with the membership his explanations about the titles of these books, where he got the ideas for the titles of these books, because it seems like a lot of people have misunderstood.
Yeah, well, it's right back there. I have Newt was the end run. Apprentice Hall had pretty much shut down the division that I'd been writing, and I got back a bunch of the titles to most of my books. The only ones they kept were my two bestsellers, of course, Helping Yourself with ESP and Helping Yourself with my Witchcraft. They still own those. But anyway, the rest of them, I got them. The rest of the 9, so there's 7 I got them. And then I was down in Mazatlan, and on the beach, reading, if you will, a little book called Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Movement. That of course, I have been a devotee of Zen for all these years anyway. If it's not direct experience, what good is it? I can write you 10,000 words describing an apple. You can take a bite of an apple and learn more than you did from my 10,000 words. So the Zen part really got to me. And I got to thinking about that, and it became, now that book was sort of semi-autobiographical, and I thought about that. I ought to get across to the world, where in the hell am I coming from? How did Astral certified public accountant become an occultist? And so that was the theme of the book, and of course I couldn't sell it to Apprentice Hall, and as a matter of fact, I think I sent out 276 inquiries to publishers, and everybody told me to go to hell. So we went on our own. And as far as the title, this was the first one. We've done a lot more since. We're reasonably successful. We ain't gone down to tunes yet, and that's after 25 years. So yeah. The title was fun, terribly dumb as it turned out, but there are two things. A friend of mine belonged to the Masters in Hollywood, Masters Club, and he invited me to have lunch with him and Ellen Mowbray to explain to Ellen how to get his book published and stuff like that there. And I'd only had one published myself, but at least I seemed to know how at that point. So we sat down with Ellen and had a little talk and stuff. His title for his book was Hors d'oeuvres in My Pocket, which was kind of funny. And he explained that he came over from England as a celebrity, then broke, and no source of income. But as a celebrity, he was invited to all kinds of wonderful parties. And he said he would do that and stuff his pockets with hors d'oeuvres and sleep on the park bench and have the hors d'oeuvres for breakfast. Well, that was a fun idea, and so that was one thing in mind. And the other, of course, was the classic. And as I say, I called it "I Have Losing My Martini." And I knew I was dead meat when I got down to Palm Springs on the little cable thing. The manager down there was had been the station manager for one of the big Channel 11 in LA for many years. He retired, and he was playing down here, running this little cable place. And we were getting ready for the interview. Turned out to be a doggone good one too. I lost it, all walked away, but anyway. He said, how the hell did you get the title of that book? I looked up, oh my God. Well, I have newt, wool of bat, tongue of dog. He said, and you'll pardon my French, he said, oh shit, Macbeth. And so, but the other time I really knew I was dead meat on the title. See, we called it I Needed My Martini with the subtitle of a certified public accountant turned occultist. It tells how, and why, and how, but nobody ever read that far. And we had our little occult shop in LA at this time, and I was down in the hall listening to Peppy, one of our good people in the lab, and trying to sell this book to this lady. And I heard her say, I don't want a book on drinking. Again, totally misinterpreted. But that's all right. I'm still glad of the title, and I'm proud of it. We're going to stand on that one. Now, the other one that was really wild, well, this goes back. You have to understand prejudice in this world. During that period in LA, this is what, 30 years ago anyway, I tried to advertise in the Los Angeles Times, ESP Laboratory. That was our name. That was our incorporated name. They would not take my advertising because they felt that ESP or psychic, anything like that, was evil, and they wouldn't carry it. And it was that way for many, many years. I wound up, of course, we could advertise in some national magazines like Fave, which we're still advertising in. I've been what they call TFW. I've had an ad in Fave every issue for the last 37 years. So I know something about that kind of advertising, but anyhow, the other one, the real one, was this book, Puck 'em All, We've Got Magic. Now, you know that Puck is also from Shakespeare, if you don't believe in anything else, but Shakespeare's Midsummer Night's Dream, and Puck was really the principal spirit character. And you understand, I hope by now, where I'm coming from, that my whole mission in life is to teach people to get the uptight seriousness out of religion and magic, and have the spirit party, and with it, all the good stuff can happen. You're friends with your spirit people, and party spirit. And how can I say that? You're back to an awful lot more business is done at the 19th hole on a golf course than ever is in a boardroom. Good stuff is done. And that's what we were trying to teach in Puck. I hope I've upstaged it with the new book on the White Unicorn. But it's all the same kind of an idea. But this title really got us shot down. In LA 30 years ago, they wouldn't take my advertising as ESP Lab. Here, I tried to get the Dallas Morning News to take a little ad for Puck 'em All. And what was really so funny about that, they turned us down because they said it was risque. And believe it or not, I saw, I believe in Barnes and Noble catalog, an advertisement for a book called Fuck, F-U-C-K. And they took that advertisement, and I wouldn't take mine. Now, you figured that one out, but anyway, I stand on that title too. I believe in the title, and fuck the publishers. I better get off the soapbox now and give you another shot, Virginia.
If I can find it around
Yeah, I hope you're enjoying this as much as I am, y'all guys.
If God can't heal it, it can't be healed, is one of Al's favorite sayings. And I would like for you to extemporate on that idea. I think it's a good one, and more details would help us all.
Yeah, that is another fun subject. And I want to start out, as I say, I had an almost sainted grandmother. She hadn't been such a pain in the ass, she'd made it, I think. But trying to explain this stuff, that she was the lady who fed her little friends in her apartment. You know, cockroaches, mice, and things like that. They had a hell of a time keeping an apartment. The landlords didn't take to that too well. But she also was, she was the original inspiration for me. I was about 12. She tried to explain all this stuff to me. But she was extremely, how do you say, down on medical profession. But she demonstrated what she believed very beautifully. In her 80s, she fell, broke her hip. Well, she was unconscious in the hospital, x-rayed her and everything. And they told her she was going to have an operation of the in the hip. She ordered the doctor out of the room, got up, dressed, and walked out of the hospital. Now, my mother was with her, and almost fainted, of course, and followed her to be sure she got her anywhere. But I said to my mother, now isn't that what you call faith healing, really healing? By the mind, or I say by the emotions. And she said, yeah, but she walked with a limp for the rest of her life. Now, of course, my mother was the classic skeptic of me and my work. She'd look at me and she says, you know, Al, you're a charlatan. I said, why? She said, well, one time she said, because you make your own incense, which I've never registered with me. But most of the time she would say, because when you talk about this stuff, you have a twinkle in your eye. And I laughed. Now, I would have the same answer. If I didn't have that twinkle in my eye when I was talking about this stuff, I would be the charlatan. Because it is, the enthusiasm is there, and that's what makes it all work. And what the hell were we talking about? Okay, now, I started the other way. See, to me, any disease of any kind is purely psychosomatic, including a broken leg, or I knew this one lady, as a matter of fact, she was one of my 18-month indiscretions, if you will. We had a wedding planned, but the split came 2 weeks before when she pulled a knife on me. Forget that part. But she was studying piano and getting to be damn good. She could have been a concert pianist. So what happened? A water glass, under the faucet. The water glass breaks and cuts the finger right to the bone and destroys and she couldn't play anymore. You know, she couldn't play concert. Now, absolutely self-inflicted. She couldn't stand success of any kind, and she had to find a way to shoot it down. Now, I can make some comments about a lady I was married to not all that long ago, but I won't. It was the same vein. That the success scares people, and therefore comes the accident or the disease or something. Of course, the easiest ones. Hell, in my first book, I wrote about the causes of disease. You know, like anxiety and resentment and stuff like that there. And pretty well, you know, I had a table pinpointing which kind of negative emotion caused what kind of a disease, and it's still there. And, well, let's say that I have said for a long time in my life, I don't carry any kind of medical insurance. Now, Virginia does, and she's right, because she hasn't come quite as far in all of this as I have. It's better to be safe. Besides, I'd like to have my wife covered in case we do have to do that, but I don't think it's necessary. I think I can heal her if she can, but, with spirit help, of course. But what I'm saying is, it is your attitude, your approach to life. What is healing? Somebody say infinite love, that's all right. The closer and more personal it is, the more healing it is, in my opinion. I will comment again, that's why sex magic is probably the most effective magical ritual work you can do, because of the tremendous amount of energy, the positive energy involved in those sort of things. But I say anything that spirit can't heal on me ain't going to heal. But then I have not been treated by a doctor in probably 30 years. This is the one who wants to get a prescription for Viagra, if you will. we ain't going to talk about that either. But the health thing, the more I have worked on my attitude in approach to life, the healthier I have become. The more secure you are in your contact with spirit, in that real knowledge that they're there to help you. Now, I'm probably stepping on another one of your questions, but when I'm thinking about this, it's all part of the same thing.
Yes.
The security of that contact and knowing that your spirit people are real and they really, really are there to help you. Now, you were going to ask me about emergencies. I've been bailed out of it. Go ahead.
You mean some of your emergencies that you have been rescued?
Yeah, personally.
Your personal experiences by your spirit people that have rescued you, and a couple of incidents an incident in your past, and one in your just recently. A recent experience.
We'll just take those two, if you will. So much fun. Well, the first one, I hadn't been into metaphysics all that long. This is, oh my God, before my 35th birthday, maybe 3 or 4 years ago. That was about 32 months. I just turned 71, so that gives you a clue how long ago it was. But I had bought a brand new little sports car, a Renault Caravan, if you will. Still had a throttle bar. It was convertible. Of course, in those days, nobody heard of a road bar. So, but it was a beautiful, bright, sunny morning. I was driving down the Long Beach Freeway. I don't remember where I was going, because we didn't get there. I was driving in the proper lane and a whole bit at 45, which is all the throttle bar will let it do. They don't make cars that way anymore, but they did in those days, where you had to keep that thing under control for the first 3,000 miles. But anyhow, some guy doing about 90 in a black something or other came buzzing down that road and rear-ended me. I was spinning down the freeway. He just kept on going. It was just, gray, big black car, and little bitty caravel, and I'm spinning down the freeway, and it looked like 1,000 cars were about to hit me if I didn't roll and get decapitated. And it was one of those interesting, you talk about moment of peace. I had learned that. Well, guys, you gonna meet me when I come out of the body? And sure enough, a spirit took over the steering wheel. I don't know how to explain it any other way. And did everything just right. And we wound up in the center divider of the freeway. And what out of they? Well, actually, we're able to drive the damn thing to the repair shop, but just barely. Of course, I've teased about that. The loaner we got in the meantime was a much nicer car than that little caravan. which also, it got beautiful mileage, got 40 miles per gallon, and 2,000 miles for a rear tire. So I'm not so sure about economy and that kind of a situation. Anyhow, that peace and giving into spirit is what I'm talking about. And now, I'll skip a couple, and let's get to the most recent one. This is not very long ago at all. Virginia had come to visit, and well, it started out to be a weekend visit. It expanded to about 16 days, and during that period, we decided that she was going to come back permanently, and we'd get married as soon as everything was feasible. And you know, we actually accomplished that too, by the way. But she flew back to Missoula, Montana, if you will. And I had to fly up there to drive her car and her most immediate possession back with her. And so we did. And you talk about an experience. This was what, February?
First week of the month.
First week of March. Got there, and there was snow everywhere. And we took off, and what was it? No, that was the Friday. Okay. We took off on Friday morning. Driving, yeah, it was, I don't think very bit as cold, except once in a Navy peacoat when I went to sleep on a troop train going back to San Diego. That's beside the point. But anyway, you gotta watch me. Those are dangerous. But anyway, you talk about spirit now. We kept driving into this damn blizzard. It did, you know, the blizzard was heading east, and so were we. And well, we were faster than it. The first night, the blizzard made it imperative that we stop, and we stopped in Casper, Wyoming. And I asked Pam, and we were afraid we were going to be snowed in for a week or something, because it happens up in that part of the country. But I asked Pam for help, and would we be all right? And Pam said, don't worry, we'll get you out of there. And okay, but being me, I still worried. You know, and oh ye of little faith, how does that say? I was undone. Lord, I believe, help thou mine unbelief. I've always been one of those, but that's all right. We get there as best we can. And so we were sitting there waiting for the room service to bring us dinner, which we badly needed because I don't think we'd had lunch. And it was getting pretty late. It was dark already. And I said, do you think we better see if we can get a weather report here and see what's going on? And Virginia looked at me. Now there's the faith thing. She was the one. She says, why? We got to leave in the morning anyway. So, okay, I quit trying to find the weather report. But the next morning, we looked out, and it looked like we were snowed in. But we decided to be brave and try it anyway. And sure enough, by the time it was the holiday in there in Casper, yeah, you wouldn't believe that part. You were wading through snowdrifts, so you can't see that part. Well, anyway, it looked like 3 feet or 4 feet deep, but we somehow kind of got out of there. And by the time we got to the highway, the snowplows had been there, and it was pretty rough. And so we took off, and sure enough, we were driving back into this damn blizzard. But now, the roads were a lot worse than they had been even the first day. And you kept driving past cars that were in a ditch on the side of the road or in the center divider ditch. And what's going on around here? Hell, the one point, when the time we got to not Albuquerque, Amarillo, there were cars in the ditch just about 10 feet apart on both sides. Of course, that was the one. I've never seen a snow condition like that. The ice was so thick on the road signs that you couldn't read them. But as a matter of fact, we wound up taken a road that we hadn't planned to, a highway we hadn't planned to. And again, like everything else, every time I made a dumb mistake, man, and it started bailing me out. And the road we were on turned out to be the best way because we got out of the damn snowball straight south and hit I-20. And when you get me on I-20 and I'm home, it took about 6 hours more with it floored. But again, I can't hardly get across the feeling of the reality of that spirit help. But you experienced
And
it.
didn't have to go through Dallas, which was your main worry at that time.
Well, yeah, that's the funny part. The one thing I was worried about, we avoided by
Making
the
a
mistake of
mistake.
the route.
So
Because, you know, I had picked Virginia up at the airport not all that many weeks before, and it took us an hour and a half to get from the airport out of Dallas on 80 to head home. And I didn't want to do that at the end of a trip like that, but we bypassed it with I-20.
Very neatly.
Yeah, but every day there are strong evidence of spirit helping you see it.
Yes.
Yeah,
That
for
was a good
me,
demonstration for me.
for
really.
us personally. And again, I'm working, you know, that last tape I made was working on the reality of the spirit contact, guidance, and tangible help. I mean, there were several times I thought I should have been one of those guys in the ditch. But Virginia didn't know that. She only had to get out and push twice. And they were both little minor problems. Anyhow, I reckon we got as far as the other. Then you got another question. Yeah, by the way, Margie's playing camera today, and I'm having a lot of fun because I'm getting some pretty good smiles out of her. And I hope that means I'm getting them out of you guys out there too.
Your thought form army, I wanted you to explain how you developed your thought form army.
That's fun. Yeah.
It seemed like there's a lot in your thought form army. I didn't realize so many and how you did it day by day.
And that goes all the way back to 74 or something. The Miracle of Universal Psychic Power book. I talked about the Miracle Thought Form. And you know, I'm one of these idiots. Now, a lot of these things I had written, well, particularly ESP book. I wrote a bunch of stuff and exercises and stuff. The spirit had sort of dictated. Even about the time the book got into production, when it was going to get on the market in a month or so, hey, I better try this damn stuff. And of course, it worked better than I had expected. But anything you get directly from spirit is that way. And you know, the classic Shiva chant and things like that. Well, it came through me in a semi-trance. I went to vocal course, and that chant came out straight, just as it was. And many of these things, and of course the regression part led us to the red light chant and the blue light chant and the orange light and all that stuff. Anyway, the idea of this was that why not? You build a thought form, okay, a single purpose, you get this purpose done, it dies, dissipates. It probably into the manifestation, of course. But how about some permanent ones that can work constantly? And, you know, we were using pyramids to try to do that sort of thing, all sorts of stuff. But I get this idea, and the idea was you could build, at your morning meditation or something, you could, with my attention span, which I don't think is any better than anybody else's, and hopefully not too much worse, but you could build 3 permanent thought forms to start your, well, I call it Miracle Thought Form Army, somewhere along that. I'm not sure I did it in the first book, but I talked about it several times. And I don't remember what book it was the last time, but now this was over 20 years ago. I started building the 3 permanent thought forms a day. for, they have the assignments for prosperity and for love and acceptance and health and all that good stuff. And they're permanent, they're working on it. Well, you keep getting them reinforcements every day. Well, now if you say 3 times 365, that's better than 1,000 a year. And then come Desert Storm, particularly, I decided that they needed some commanders, sub-commanders besides just Ishtar. So I made one to be General Schwartzig, to take the immediate command and run the show and divide it up into all the proper corps and things. But anyhow, after 20 years, I had a better than 20,000 man or piece or whatever the hell you want to call this damn thing, army. And over the years after that, particularly, people have written and called and asked, what the hell kind of an end do you have with God or something, and that you can get your stuff done where I don't. Excuse me. And one of the things I do like to say at that point is, well, now, I've been at this long enough, I've got over 20,000 man miracle thought form army working for me. And in the same way, I have been working on rapport with my spirit people for longer than that. You had to start somewhere. And been home, wow, at least 45 years since I had that first hand on my shoulder when I was asking for some indication that this stuff was real. And I think about it, I still laugh because the hair did stand straight over the back of my neck and I had an urge to run. But that sweet little voice whispered in my ear, where the hell are you going to run? And that was the clincher. I never, well, I wouldn't say I didn't get startled or say the hair, just the hair on the back of my neck. I still do that once in a while to get a good, strong, loud hug, but no fear. Rather a happy anticipation. But how does that come? Experience. The same way, why does our magic work? Because we keep evolving and under the guidance of spirit. And the one thing I looked at, the damn publishers back in the old days, you had to be serious. If you weren't deadly serious, it didn't sound deadly serious, they wouldn't publish it. They said nobody paid any attention to it. Somewhere along the way, I figured one of my major missions in this life was to get the seriousness out and the fun in so you can work with the nature spirits. And I'm not going to use my same old U-boat commander analogy this time because I may have blown that out by now on these videos. I don't remember how many times I did it. But the idea is if you're doing it the old way. Now this is all the ways before my white witchcraft book, if you will. The rituals are extremely precise, and you are in effect commanding and ordering the nature spirits and whatever spirits you're working with, and that does not create a very nice atmosphere. The answer, how do you say that? You make a little tiny mistake. In the big at that point, the nature spirits will play like a computer. They will do what you tell them, which is not necessarily what you want them to do. And now, how do you get around that? Very simple when you think about it. This is why the party, the friendship, now, instead of commanding, you're playing, you're enjoying each other, and it's back to like you're on a 19 hole in the golf course. You're talking, and it's, how do you say that? Wouldn't it be fun if we could accomplish this? And on that basis, when you make a mistake, they cover for you. They laugh with you, not at you, and they cover for you. And you get what you're trying to, not what you said. I learned enough of that in computer programming that you got to have a real user-friendly setup. But that again, that's what the party is for. You can have a good time with it. You're going to be home free. Okay, yeah, well, we covered the army, didn't we? Kinda, yeah. Now, I only got time for maybe one more question. Have you got one? Or if not, look out, I'm out of ad lib.
Okay. How do you live your life in the mode of better and better?
Oh, better and better.
And prove in your personal life that better and better to know where limits work.
Oh, man, yeah.
This is my last question.
That's
You're
all
on your own now.
That's all right, because I can talk for an hour on that, as you know. But, well, you know, how do you say that? When I first got into metaphysics, well, that was in 1950, thereabout, not counting the introduction I had from my almost sainted grandmother. But one of the things you encountered was the old Coué school, the Nancy school. Coué was the guy, the Frenchman, and his theme was, every day and every way I'm getting better and better. Well, it sounded awful damn trite to me, to be honest with you. I said, well, that's pretty, but didn't pay a hell of a lot of attention for many years. But I guess when I got into the, well, let's see, it was your golden key to success when we got to the path of the white unicorn. Yeah, it's okay, Margie, we only got about 5 minutes. She's squirming a little bit. I hope I'm not boring you. Anyhow, you get into this white unicorn idea, and as you know, the unicorn is the most mystical of all mythological creatures. And I use the word mythological tongue in cheek because any of the old gods you want to study about, you have to get in the mythology section. And of course, I'll still tease, and I tease my Rosicrucian friends that way. Just remember, Egypt, with that marvelous civilization, ruled the world, really, literally ruled the world way, way back there. And then this joker, Amenhotep IV, decided that he was going to be Akhenaten and bring in this theory of one God and throw out all the old gods. And you look at your history, that civilization right down the tubes. And I'm not going to belabor that point, but the idea is that what you were doing, indeed, there's one God, the universal God, but it's so damn universal, it's very impersonal. And if you want the oneness with God, it has to be through what our Christian friends call the ministering angels, and that's as good as any. I think maybe our Jewish friends would use that same term, but that you got it. But this then, the infinite becomes at least semi-personalized, and when you get into the interplay there, it's almost not quite, well, it's not quite as good as a flesh-on-flesh relationship that has it all, but you'd be amazed how completely real these people are. And this is what makes it all work. Now, okay, you have these beautiful gods, including, let's see, they called him Osiris instead of Pan in Egypt, but or instead of Kernos, whatever you want to say. But they threw out all these wonderful people that were the ministering angels and helping people to grow and learn and progress. And so now they're back with this impersonal thing. Okay, well, it says, is that the Old Testament or the New Testament? But he causes the sun to shine and the rain to fall upon the just and the unjust. Okay, what kind of personal help is that? And that is what they went back to. They went back to being subject to the laws of chance and the vagaries or whatever you call it of nature. But the same thing has happened in many civilizations. You throw away the old gods, or again what I call you throw away the ministering angels. Now you're stuck all by yourself. You know what the hell you're doing, and there's nobody to help you. So This is what got me back into all of it. Let's enjoy the reality and how you make them friends, you party with them, you don't scream at them and yell them around or get on your knees and supplicate. That's dumb. You accept them as real as you are, and I like to think of maybe as older brothers and sisters. I really prefer to say as equals, if you know, the same way. To me, on that personal level, the President of the United States or a janitor and fertilizer factory are equal, and that's the only way to treat the world. You know, on that kind of a basis, you can party with an equal. You accept them, they accept you, and now we play, and we have more fun playing. In Virginia, I'll tell you, we share my morning meditation. The first time in all these years, I had a real companion to do the meditation work with. It's kind of nice, doesn't it? And the reality of the response from our ministering angels of the Astral.
Increased, I think.
Oh yeah, and the rapport with all of them. Yeah. Again, I could talk for hours and hours and hours on this. I see by the clock that our 45 minutes are up. And Margie needs a break for lunch because she hasn't had it yet, I don't think. So, again, let me say it's been a real pleasure working with you, and I hope that these are real questions that Virginia has been bugging me with ever since we got together. And I hope that we've shared it in a way that's useful for you. And I hope you'll invite us back one of these days. And because we're going to be doing more. Bye-bye for now. Happy party and blessed be.